Hey, this is Brandon Crawford from the San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Let's go, Giants! With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast. Standing on top, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Tuesday, July 30th, 2019, and this is episode 174 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me today, as always, is Eric Nathanson. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm just got my thoughts and feelings have been towards you, your family, and everybody in your community lately. For those that don't know, Chad is from Gilroy. And you all heard about the horrific events this weekend, so I just want to make sure you're doing okay, buddy.
Yeah, it's been a very, very odd week. Thankfully, my family was not attending the festival that day. I was out in the backyard doing some work. My family was inside doing laundry and having lunch and that kind of thing. My daughter was invited to go that morning, really late morning into the afternoon, the previous night, but as of Sunday morning, those plans fell through. So she ended up not going, and thank God that happened, because who knows if she would have been there at that time and where she would have been standing. But it was an absolute gut punch to the city of Gilroy. We're a town of about 70,000. We're a mix of rural countryside with a lot of farmland, and we're the southern edge of Silicon Valley, so we have a lot of white-collar workers going up into Google and Apple and HP and all points beyond, including my wife. And one of the reasons we chose Gilroy 17 years ago is because she's always been in Silicon Valley to the north, and I've always been in a career of marine biology, and I'm based in Monterey, which is to the south. And so Gilroy is essentially equidistant from both places. And so that's kind of how we settled on it. But we've grown, roots here over all those years. Our kids have been going to school here for so many years. They're 13 and 9 years old, and we usually shield them from this kind of news that happens internationally or nationally, especially this gun violence, and couldn't shield him from this one. My daughter was texting with a group of her friends, many of whom were at the event during the shooting, and she's getting firsthand accounts over text about how her friends had to run away from bullets and are dealing with the consequences afterwards. In fact, one of her theater camps this week has been canceled all week because many of the teenagers were working as volunteers doing the parking lot, and they saw the shooter and ran away from bullets, and they're traumatized, and they can't think of even getting out of the house. And so yesterday we took the day off of work. We stayed home with the kids, just kind of spent good time with them, talked about this incident with them. There was a vigil downtown last night. We've been here for so long, and we know virtually half the town through Little League and Scouts and church and school and all the other organizations we participate in. And you really build a huge network of hundreds and hundreds of friends and families here. And I personally knew, at least 60 people who were there during the shooting. It's crazy. It's not like, I knew one person. It's like I knew half the people that were there practically. And I knew one person who was grazed by a bullet, another one who saw someone who was shot right in front of him, another one who saw CPR being performed. They all ran away from bullets. They all were screaming for their lives. It's something that no one should ever have to experience or witness, and thank God I didn't. But I know that our community is going to deal with this for quite a bit of time to come. And I don't want to dwell on this, but it's been a huge emotional impact to me and my family and a lot of my friends, and it's been sad, and I'm not going to get political about anything because there's no point in doing that. But I will urge you guys, if you're interested, to look to donate. As you know, perhaps 3 people did die, including a 6-year-old boy, and I'll put it in the show notes. But there's a GoFundMe for him. Certainly, Red Cross still needs blood, so if you can donate, that would be great. And I think it's only been 36 hours or so since the incident, so we don't, I don't have a specific charity for you to donate to. I don't want to give you an illegitimate one. So certainly, if you're interested in donating, look it up. I'm definitely going to be volunteering my time over the next couple of weeks and helping, some organizations out. We have some people, many people who were there working the event. They dropped, they have lockers there for staff that are working food booths and are being volunteers. Or they had phones on tables or keys or wallets in their bags sitting under a table or in a locker. Well, obviously, when the shooting happened, they just ran, right? Their cars are still in parking lots. So we have so many of our friends that don't have their wallets, their keys, or their cars because it's still being processed by the FBI. And they're like, we're driving around town trying to help people find rides and get their kids where they need to be or them to their jobs. It's been just crazy. All these weird secondary repercussions of this event that you don't really think about, all the little tiny minutia. It's very inconvenient as well. So it's hit this town hard. It's something that, obviously this town and hopefully the country will never forget, although that's hard because there seems to be a freaking mass shooting every other week. And, I'm sure in the future we're going to rebuild and be fine in this Garlic Festival, which is kind of the pride and joy of Gilroy. We have over 100,000 people attend every year. It's our main charity driver for all of our nonprofits and volunteer organizations here, drawing from people all around the state. And I'm sure it'll be bigger and better next year. And, just like Boston and all these other places, it's not going to stop what we do. But it's left an indelible mark as a one psychotic kid. And it's sad that that's what this town has come to, or not this town, this country has come to. But, just hug your loved ones, stay close. And I hate to say it, but when you're in big venues and open areas, take 5 minutes. It sucks to even think about it, but take 5 minutes, look at the exits, look at where people might be, just kind of scan your surroundings and just think of a quick exit plan. And other than that, it's just don't change your lives. Don't avoid these things. Don't avoid fun places or parks or stadiums or big events, but just be careful and be smart.
Yeah, well, I'll say from the entire Giants community, we're wrapping our arms around Gilroy and giving them a big hug because I definitely saw that this affected our Giants community over the last few days because it is in the area. It's where you live right there. So, from the entire Giants community, we really just we're thinking about Gilroy and supportive of Gilroy. I don't know if Gilroy Strong has become a thing or if there's a different thing, but as a community, we just hope for the best. And Gilroy is in our thoughts and prayers. Like you said, I'm not going to go beyond that. Just hope for the best, and really, just sorry that y'all had to go through that. I know I didn't do it, and that's not straight up, but just sucks that you all had to go through that. And I feel for you and anybody else out there who this has affected. I know that we probably have listeners in your town and in the area. Mm-hmm. So, we're thinking about all of you, and we just wish that this was not something you had to deal with.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. But, I'm just glad that me and my family weren't there. There was another younger lady. She's in her 20s. She was at my CrossFit workout this morning, and we're all just very somber and trying to get back into the swing of things. And she was there. So we were talking to her about it, and she was pretty open about it. She's not been she's having trouble sleeping, but she's just living her life. She's like, I'm not going to change my life. I'm fine. I wasn't hurt. It was okay. But yeah, she said she was only about 60 feet away from the shooter, and she saw him and just turned and ran and, wasn't hurt or anything, but just, she's going to remember the sound of those shots and the screams and everything. And I just like, my God, some of these people and these kids too, these teenagers, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are going to have long lasting effects, PTSD and all sorts of crap like that. I mean, we haven't been able to sleep the last 2 days. It's been hard in our family, and we weren't there. Yeah. I feel for those who experienced it physically, but anyway, thank you for listening to that little thing as we start the show. But let's talk about happier things.
Yes, the
things that take us away from reality. Exactly, right? The distraction. So, the Giants had another good week. Obviously, last week was epic at 7-1, or 2 weeks ago. This last week they had another good week at 4-2. They won both series. I believe that's 6 series in a row. They are now 7 in a row. They are now 54-52, second alone in the National League West, 14 games back of LA, 2.5 games back of the wild card. They still have 4 teams ahead of them. We'll talk about that a little bit later. 18-5 in July. That's 19 out of their last 24. And they're now 26-10 in one-run games, including 4-0 this week, and 11-2 in extra inning games, including 2-0 this week. I mean, we talked about this last week when they were 4 games and 2 games less than this, and we were thinking, how long is this going to last? And boom, they had another perfect week in both categories.
It's just really stunning, especially starting off the week against a team like the Cubs that is in contention. That Monday game, you went to that Monday game, and you can attest there were moments in that game where it could have gone completely off the rails for the Giants, but they put together that rally in the bottom of the 8th, and they got it going. Joe Panic finally came through and did something. It was just an absolutely overall team win to get the week going.
It was great. And one thing that's funky about this one-run game record, which is best in the MLB, and their extra inning record is also best in the majors, is, they calculate an expected win-loss total for every team in the MLB standings. You can see it there. And they pretty much use run differential for that, but it's a complicated algorithm also based on how many one-run games and extra inning games and all the stuff like that, because the expectation is you can't win 90% of each of those, no matter how good you are. There's got to be some sort of correction to the mean at some point during a season or two. Their expected win-loss record is 5 wins worse than they are right now. So their expectation is 49-57. So, hey, Giants are overachievers, and I'll take that.
Absolutely. I can't believe we're sitting here talking about a 54-52 team 24 hours before the deadline. I expect this is the podcast that we were going to be talking about. Oh my God, they traded this guy. Oh my God, they traded this guy. And now we're sitting here, and we will get into the trade stuff. We're sitting here going, oh my God, maybe they're buyers. What's going to happen now? And we have really no idea. And that's thanks to them squeaking these games out and doing those things. Like you said, we talked about one-run games last week, and I made the point that some of those one-run games are like you're up 7-4 in the 9th, but you give up a 2-run homer to Will Myers, and then it's 7-6. Exactly. And so it's not like they eked out that victory. They scored more than enough runs to give themselves a cushion. So that's kind of a different one-run win than, say, the Monday win against the Cubs, where they did have to string together 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th to just take that 1-run lead. Yeah,
no, you're precisely right. It's just astounding to look at if they were averaging 1-run games, right? So they've played 36 of them. So that would be 18-18. So that's 8 games worse than they are now. They'd be 10.5 out in the wild card if they were 500 in 1-run games. So they would be selling no matter what if they were average in 1-run games. It's pretty astounding, and that has been absolutely the difference in this season, and their ability to win 11 out of 13 extra inning games. Just, there's certain luck to those things, but there definitely is a tangential quality of what this team is capable of doing, and what if they put their minds to it and things work out and the chemistry's working out, they're going to make it, happen. And obviously, number one strength has been bullpen for these reasons. And so that's been really their saving grace. If it wasn't for their bullpen, the Giants would be well out of the race right now. And thank God for that.
Okay, so let's dive into the week. They had a 3-game series against the Cubs starting last week, Monday through Wednesday. You covered the game on Monday. And I mean, you didn't just cover the game. You were everywhere. You got a question into Bochy. I saw you standing there talking. Was it Sean Anderson night?
Sean Anderson.
Yeah, it was that. You were all over the place. It was great to see. So I hope everybody, followed along with that one. And that was the beginning of the big test. We talked about it on this show. Can they beat those good teams? And on Monday, the Giants proved that they could.
Yeah, it was great. I sat with Ryan Leong. We often watch games together, and yeah, they were down, 5-1 there, 4-1 in the 8th inning, and they started stringing something together, and then it was 4-2, then it was 4-3, then it was 4-2 going in that inning, then it was 4-3, and then they tied it, and there were still 2 outs, and then Panic, who's been cold as ice, ripped that down the line, and Sam Dyson had to do that nice little jump over his double. That was actually pretty hilarious because so Ryan and I were giving little fist bumps under the table and stuff because we're like, wow, this is weird. Like all these hits are being strung together, and suddenly they went up. And Dyson came in because Will Smith had been used so much in the previous series that they had to use someone else, and Dyson came in and got the save. But we were talking to Sean Anderson after the game, and that audio is posted on our website, on our podcast feed. And then also a Joe Panic interview, which actually the audio is not there, but I attended it. He was obviously in good spirits. He had a lot of hits that night. He had the game-winning RBI double. But they were talking to him, hey, did you see that ball that Sam Dyson, deftly jumped over? And he's like, no, I didn't see it. And so I did this with Tomlinson back in the day when he got a game-winning hit. And he hadn't seen it, so I showed it to him in the clubhouse. So I quickly looked on Twitter, found the video of it, and as he was walking away talking with Baggerly, after they finished it, I said, hey, Joe, and he turns around, and I was like, here it is. And he's all, oh, cool. And so I showed him on the phone, and he's like, oh, man, that's a good move by Sam. So that was kind of fun. He was in a good mood.
Sam waited for the last possible second, too.
Yeah.
He was so cool about it.
Yeah, it was fun because, that's when you can kind of, joke and be fun with the players because they're in good moods, right? It's like after losses or devastating losses, I'm like, I'm going to let the professionals interact with them more. I don't want to piss them off with horrible questions. But that was a fun night. I'm 3-0. 3-0 Giants games this year.
Yeah,
and by the way, all 3 games have been within this tremendous stretch. My first game was June 30th when they started this stretch, winning 19 out of 24. That was game number 1. And then a couple Fridays ago with my family when they won 1-0 on that botched fly ball that Pablo hit in the 10th. And then, of course, this game against the Cubs. So I'm feeling pretty good, Eric. I like this.
Yeah. I think we're going to start. All right. The GoFundMe page to send Chad to every Giants game.
I was going to say, I'm going to keep going. And my wife is like, you're going to keep ending the streak. And I'm like, nope. 2 for 2 and keeping the streak going. Feeling good.
Can Chad make it to Philly in 2 hours? Yeah. Tune in next.
No kidding. So here's an audio highlight with 2 outs and a runner on second and Joe Panic up at the plate in the bottom of the 8th.
On the ground and a base hit. Here comes Slater. The Giants take the lead.
Sorry, there's a lot of dead air there. That was fun to watch Sam jump over that ball again. Love it. By the way, everyone was like, if it hit him, would that have been a dead ball? Yes, it would have been a dead ball, but it would have been an automatic double and he would have scored. So don't worry about it.
Absolutely. That's the ground rule there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have affected anything. It would have been the exact same thing. So Tuesday they go back in and they win by the exact same score once again, 5-4. However, they took extra frames to do it, a whole 13, but you did have a walk-off by Panda in the bottom of the 13th.
He is 0 for 5, grounded into 2 double plays. The pitch to him. Swing, and there's a drive into deep left field. Way back there, still going, way back. The leap. Adios! Pelota! And the Panda has won it. His first hit of the night. The left fielder, Garcia, made it all the way back to the wall and made a leap, and it was beyond him. And the Giants are waiting for the Panda at home plate to douse him with the Gatorade jug. The Giants have won it by a 5-4 score. The second walk-off homer in extra innings. But this is not over just yet. I think the umpires...
Yeah, so they had to review this, and I wanted to mention something about this because he was hitting his more powerful side, his left side, but he hit it to the opposite field, to left field. And I mean, right when he hit it, I thought it was a fly ball. I really did. And it just kept carrying, and it just kept carrying, and it just kept carrying. And it was barely into the first row. It was about a foot over the fence. And, a lot of people are complaining about the juiced balls this year. The reality is the Giants have the same opportunity with the same balls this year. And I think this is a perfect example of how it benefited the Giants in a particular situation, because I think if they have a normal ball from a few years ago, that's a catch at the warning track.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it came after Sam Coonrod had come in the top of the 13th, struck out Baez and Bryant, and then got Rizzo to ground out. So when you talk about winning one-run games and the bullpen stepping up, they put Panda in the position to do that. And I'm with you. Like when the ball went up, I'll be honest, I fell asleep. I watched it later. And I knew what happened. But when the ball went up, I was like, wait, that's a home run?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and we've seen that more and more this season. Yeah. So, like you said, the Giants have as many opportunities as every other team to hit the ball over the fence with the crazy, wacky Super Balls that they're playing with right now. So it was good to see that kind of a break go their way finally.
Yeah, Bumgarner did get the start. Of course, a lot of people speculated, could this be his last home start? We'll get to that in a few minutes. But he did get the no decision. Both Dickerson and Panda went deep with home runs. So they took the first 2 of 3. You're thinking, maybe they're going to sweep this Cubs team. And they didn't. They hit a little bump of the road. Tyler Beede allowed 4 earned runs in 5 2/3. The Giants only had 7 hits, and they lost 4-1. So, again, you don't feel bad about it. You're like, okay, they took 2 out of 3 from a contender. No problem. This is great. Had an off day Thursday. They go right into Friday, travel down to San Diego. And they continue this torture baseball again. They go to 11 innings, but they won it again in the top of the 11th with the score tied 1-1. Guess who comes to the plate again?
High drive. Left field. It is out of here. Sandoval hits it out right-handed. And the Giants take the lead.
Yeah, that was awesome because not just that it won the game for them, but he hit it right-handed, which is his weak side. You rarely see power from that side. But then that Giants fan dad with the baby caught it one-handed. And, of course, that was a nice story the next day. They invited him down to the dugout, and Sandoval held the baby and gave him a signed bat and all sorts of stuff like that. It was a lot of fun, but Panda is just right in the mix here, and now he's leading the team as a part-time player with 13 home runs.
Yeah. It's really fun. That's the second one from the right side this year. And that catch, that whole experience, guy wearing a Mays jersey, holding his sleeping baby, and the wife didn't even react. And from what I've read, the wife is a reporter in San Diego.
Yeah.
And the seats they were sitting in are another reporter's seats who's a Padres fan. So had it not been obviously the Giants in town, he never would have been in that position. What a thrill. It was so fun to see all that stuff. Those are the moments that we've been talking about that make the season worthwhile.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we're going to talk about that next year. We're going to be like, you remember when that guy with the baby caught Pablo's homer? And even Pablo was up on it. He's like, the best play of the day was made by the guy catching my homer. It makes it more fun. And it really, watching the Giants fans invade Oracle South, I'll call it now, was just phenomenal. Because the first couple series against the Padres this season, it didn't seem like the fans showed up as much. And now the Giants are in the thick of things again. It was like a party.
Oh, it was great. It was great to see that Oracle South action going on. But, the Giants kind of... So they haven't lost 2 in a row since a series against Colorado in late June. I mean, they've just been going like gangbusters. I mean, how many times did they not win 2 in a row for most of the season, right? They were losing 2, 3, 4 in a row all the time, interspersed with wins. They haven't lost 2 in a row in about a month now, more than a month, actually. But they go right back into Saturday, and they had a little stumble again. Sean Anderson on the mound took the loss. And at that point, it was actually, they lost 5-1, by the way. They had made 11 consecutive games without a win for the starter. But look at their record in that stretch. That's what's so crazy about it. The Giants only had 5 hits. They hadn't had a starter get a win in 11 games, and yet they had 2 or 3 losses during that stretch. I mean, this is weird baseball going on right now. Sensual baseball, whatever you want to call it. Torture. I mean, it's working. We'll take it, I mean, they're living on the edge, and it's working.
Somebody asked the question on our YouTube channel under our last show if we think that the winning is creating the chemistry or the chemistry is creating the winning. And I think it's a both kind of thing. But the chemistry, I think, is really helping with the winning. The moves that Farhan made, he found the right kind of – not only did he find the right kind of guys to plug in the lineup, these guys seem to fit in the clubhouse as well. The Dick Chance, the fact that Yaz or somebody else got doused with the Gatorade after a game winner. I think that was last week or something like that.
Yeah.
It shows that the guys like each other. We always remember in 2012 Hunter Pence's speeches, and the basis for those things were play for the guy next to you. And it really feels like the Giants are playing for the guy next to them. And that's part of why they don't lose more than one game in a row. They seem to be able to wipe the slate clean and be like, all right, we're good. We're going to take on the world again tomorrow and we'll be fine. And it's showing it in results. I mean, Saturday you can just kind of wash it away. And then Sunday they come out and they're able to take like you said, their 7th straight series. I think that's right. I think it's 7th straight series. And that's not something they've done in years. The last time they did that, I think, was like 2014.
Yeah, no, it's insane. They were well under 500 in terms of series victories, and I think they're one series over 500 now, which makes sense. They're 2 games over 500 overall, but yeah, I think it might be 7 here. Let's go ahead and take a look. So let's work in reverse order. Padres 1, Cubs 2, Mets 3, Rockies 4, Brewers 5, Cardinals 6, Padres 7.
And then they split with Arizona right before that.
And they split with Arizona. So yeah, 7 in a row. 7.
They haven't even
series in a row. Wow, and not even a split in any of those. Well, they didn't have much of an opportunity for that, but.
And it means that they haven't lost for 8 series in a row either. The last time they lost a series was Colorado that you mentioned. They lost 2 or 3 at home against Colorado in late June. Mm-hmm. They've gone the entire month of July without losing a series, and it's going to end that way because the series against Philly coming up doesn't end until after July.
Yeah, good point.
So the Giants are going to go. They're going to go an entire month without losing a series. This team that I will fully admit, I don't know if this is the time to admit this, but I will totally fully admit that I was in sell mode 4 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, 1 month ago. I'm totally off that. I am not in sell mode anymore.
Now, 2 weeks ago, I was in sell mode.
Right. But, it's Bochy's last season. They're showing life. What the heck? Go for it. Why the hell not? I'm tired of these. I'm seeing all these so-called baseball experts. Well, the Giants only have a 0.1% chance to win the World Series, and what are they doing? They need to build for the future. Fuck the future. I'm tired of worrying about the future.
Do all your drugs tonight. Fuck the future.
Right. Why can't we live in the moment? Why can't I go up to the top of a house and scream, I am a golden god? I mean, there's no reason not to let that happen. And, as fans, we're fans. We're not paid media members to cover the game who may cynically look at things at times. We're fans. We want wins. Wins make us happy. Mm-hmm. And seeing that they're winning, we're happy. The Giants community is happy. So I'm tired of all these quote baseball experts, and I'm doing the air quotes. You can't see it, but I know y'all can feel it. These baseball experts are like, well, the Giants should do this and the Giants should do that. No, screw you. The Giants should do what's best for Giants management, Giants fans, and the Giants team. Does the ownership love the fact that the ballpark's filling up a little more? Hell yes. Does Bochy love the fact that he has a shot at a playoff berth in his final season as a manager? Hell yeah. If they get to the wild card game and they lose, is it a disappointing season? No. It's not. It's not a disappointing season. In the past, I've always been World Series or bust, World Series or bust. But on its own, this season is different. Yeah. Right. It's different this season. And so if they sneak into the playoffs and they lose a wild card game, which I'm not even sure they would lose because it would probably be on the road and they're gangbusters on the road. So, I'm tired of these pundits. I'm tired of these baseball, experts saying that the Giants just need to do this, and this. Farhan has proven he can change the team on the fly. Our starting outfielders were Michael Reed. I remembered his name. Michael Reed and Connor Joe. Now we have Dick and Yaz out there. It's a completely different team. So if he's able to make those moves in the short term, just imagine what he's going to keep doing in the long term. So, I'm not worried about the future because I think Farhan's got it covered. So let's enjoy the freaking moment.
The acceleration of this team and the chemistry has been incredible. And, after they lose 5-1, I think all Giants fans always think, okay, this is where the losing starts. But Sunday, they got right off the dirt and won 7-6. Like you mentioned, there was a late 2-run home run in the 9th inning, but Madison Bumgarner got the win. He did allow 4 earned runs over 7, but you know what? For how many games he's been caned this year, if he finally got a win for, allowing a decent amount of runs over 7, it really was one swing of the bat, and that was preceded with 2 just crappy base hits. So it's not like he was hit hard. But he did leave that cutter or that slider well over the plate for Renfroe. I mean, I was going
to say the Renfroe one was the only one that he really made a mistake on.
And unfortunately, it was 2 crappy base hits, in front of him. So, but that's baseball. That's what happens, and that's part of the game. But he did get the win. Smith did give up that 2-run home run in the 9th, but he still got the save. Yaz went 4 for 5 with 2 RBI and 2 double. And I have an audio highlight of Buster Posey tacking on a crucial run in the top of the 9th.
Down the left field line, and that's a fair ball. In this case, it was get him in. Back-to-back doubles.
Buster Posey doing a Rich Aurilia right there. Rich Aurilia always made him a better hitter when you knocked him down. And you can say the same thing for Posey, who got spun in the 0-2 pitch, comes back and he rakes this curveball from early.
Yeah, so Posey had been brushed back by a curveball, and he just got right back in there and then just crushed this curveball down the line. It's a fastball that he got brushed back with. It's just nice to see Posey. Anytime there's an audio highlight of him, I like to go ahead and play it because, it's Buster Posey. They didn't have that one big home run or anything like that, so it was just fun.
No, and I just changed my profile picture to a picture of Posey, so we will always love Posey. Because after the game, I was going to go back and say this was another example of the Giants coming back because they were down 4-2 in this game. Yes. And Solano and Yaz pretty much put them on their backs. And Yaz went 4 for 5 from the 8-hole. It wasn't even like he was the number 2 or number 3 hitter and he did this. So he did all that damage from down there. And it was again one of those times where they strung together some base hits. You heard Kipe say it. This time it was get him in, because right before that hit, they were talking about, okay, we want to get him over and get him in because there weren't 2 outs yet. They knew that a fly ball would score a run, and Posey's like, screw that, I'm just going to knock this run in and we're going to keep moving. And that's the kind of thing. The Giants they never feel dead.
No, they don't.
I take that back. They sometimes feel dead, like on Saturday, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be dead the next day. Just like you referenced, here we go again, and then they're a completely different team on Sunday again, which made for a happy flight. And I don't know how much of this you saw on Sunday. They did a theme trip from San Diego to Philly. It is the Dress Like Pablo Sandoval trip. And I mean, the pictures that came out, go to Giants Facebook page, their Instagram, their Twitter, and check out some of these pictures. Like I said, I changed my picture to the picture of Buster Sandoval because he had on the glasses and the studs and the loud shirt and stuff like that. And this is what winning teams do. They really do. They have fun with it. I mean, I cannot imagine if this team was, 42 and 64, that they would be having as much fun with what they're doing. 42, that's not right. Maybe it is. They would be doing different. My math sucks today. They would be doing something different, and this is the sign of a team that is cohesive and together and pulling for each other. And that was just a ball. It was so much fun seeing all the guys dress up. I love when they do these theme road trips.
It was so much fun. I mean, I didn't see it till very late that night because that's, kind of simultaneous when the bad shit happened at the Garlic Festival. But that night, as I was pouring through a bunch of the news stuff, I saw it pop up on Twitter and Facebook, so I had to look at it. And I mean, it just reminded me when Buster Posey did those Spanish Telemundo kind of soap opera things with Sergio Romo back in the day. That's what he looked like. He had the big diamond earrings, the big glasses, the slicked hair, the gold chains, the Pablo shirt. He took selfies with Vogt and Crawford and was with the team, and he was into it. I mean, this is Buster Posey, who just he's done these commercials and he does Toyota commercials and he tries to act, and you see a little bit of that, but this is him just being funny and goofy with the team. And I was listening to KMBR with Mike Kruko, and they're asking about this, and they're like, how does this work out? Is this a sign of team chemistry? And Mike said, absolutely, because when you do something like this, like, we're going to dress up like one of our current teammates. You got to have everybody on board. So you can't do this with like 5 guys going, no, this is stupid, right? Or if you're offending Pablo, or if management doesn't want it. No, this is a sign that everybody was cool with it, and almost everybody participated in it, and it was just so fun to see. It definitely shows a sign that they're getting along well. I know winning breeds confidence and chemistry breeds winning, and we talked about that earlier. But it is the greatest thing that can happen right now. As far as I'm concerned, they're going into Philly feeling really good about things. Philly's been struggling. They're going to be hitting in a bandbox where the Giants have been doing well on the road, and they've been crushing the ball in these small parks lately. So, and they're facing a guy who has like over 70 ERA tonight. So, who knows? But, they could go in and take 2 out of 3 from Philly and really, start rolling a little bit further and I'll get to this a little bit later, but starting to face a lot of the teams that are actually in the hunt for the wild card. So this could hopefully be a good start to that process.
Yeah, I have good feelings over the next 3 days because it is hot in Philly as well, which means the ball's going to fly. And the Giants, they average 5.4 runs a game on the road and 3.4 runs a game at home, which is just an astronomical difference. They seem more comfortable, and it's that Band of Brothers mentality that they seem to have taken. They're the ones in the bunker, and this is what they're going to do. And as fans, we totally get to go along for the ride. This is why we're fans. It's for fun stuff like this.
Yeah. No, for sure. And so now we want to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, or on our backs, the elephant in the room. The Major League Baseball trade deadline is about 22 and a half hours away. 1 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, July 31st. And I'm sure many of you listening to this podcast may have passed that deadline already, so you're going to already know the future of where we are right now. But the question is, what are the Giants going to do? And like we just mentioned, months ago, trade. 2 months ago, trade. 1 month ago, trade. 2 weeks ago, I was still on the trade bandwagon. But I got to admit, Eric, I think I've been converted. I don't necessarily think they should buy a whole lot, but at the same time, if you're going to make a run at this, you obviously need to keep, guys like Smith and Bumgarner. So I think that's what most of the fan base wants. I think that's what ownership has been hearing. And unless, again, they get a drop your drawers, blow your socks off offer for any of these guys, I think they're going to stand pat. And I think a lot of these teams are not going to offer that. They're not going to offer something crazy because they know the position of strength that the Giants are in terms of negotiating. So I don't think another team, including the Yankees, who I originally did think they might overpay for Bumgarner. There's been a lot of news lately that Brian Cashman has kind of cooled off because of the secondary analytics and the hard hit balls from Bumgarner and all that. That this just may not happen, and the Giants, again, would have to be floored by an offer to let these guys go. And, I think it's a best case scenario for Zaidi because I think as the Giants have done so well, they're showing Zaidi not only we can do this as this team is currently constructed. We can do this if we stay hot. It would be a blow to the team and a blow to their psyche if Zaidi was to pull a major trade, especially Bumgarner. But I think most of the fan base, I would hope, would understand, let's say hypothetically, he doesn't make a trade and he stands pat or maybe adds a small piece or something that doesn't significantly deflate our minor league system. And the Giants don't make the playoffs this year. There's going to be a small vocal minority, but I don't think it's going to be an overwhelming majority that's going to say, why did you not take these trades? You sacrificed our 2, 3, 4-year future for a shot at this year, which we knew was completely unlikely, you idiot. So, granted, it's always armchair quarterbacking at that point, but I think that Zaidi has to put the pedal to the metal right now.
Yeah, I agree. They are in such a position of strength that I didn't expect. And just the fact that they, the long-standing gripe about the Giants is that their farm system sucks. And over the last month, their farm system has risen up the rankings, and they're like the 14th best farm system or something like that. Last week I talked about there's now 4 guys in the Baseball America top 100 prospect list. There was only 2 guys. I think only 1 guy. I think it was just Joey at the beginning of the season. I think Ramos had fallen out of it. So they are in a stronger position. down in the minors, they have better depth now, again, thanks to Farhan. And you have to look at I want them to keep Smith. Bumgarner, I think they have to keep. I really do think they have to keep Bumgarner. I think that the clubhouse is going to revolt if they trade Bumgarner.
Yeah, I think so too.
The leaders of this team are still Bumgarner, Posey, and then to a little lesser extent, Sandoval. And I think if you mess with that chemistry in this Giants clubhouse, Farhan's going to have a revolt on his hands. I don't know if Bochy has gone up to him and been like, please don't trade Bumgarner before I retire. He might have asked him. Who knows? We don't know that stuff. That stuff we're not privy to. But I think, when you talk about clubhouse chemistry and stuff like that, I don't think that the Giants want to screw with that too much. I would be willing if they needed to gain some depth. The thing is what is the hole for the Giants? Okay, the trade deadline is here, and there are possible buyers. What is the holes that they need to fill? Yeah. Starting pitching may be one of the holes, and probably some infield depth when you've got somebody like Joe Panik.
Sure.
Yep, you got him struggling. So the surplus that the Giants have is in the bullpen, and that doesn't mean you got to get rid of Will Smith. But there are guys like Reyes Maranta, Sam Dyson, even Drew Pomerantz is drawing interest from the Nats right now. Mm-hmm. There are other guys that can be flipped for future without hurting the present team because their bullpen is so deep. You see guys like Trevor Gott go out there and still keep doing it every day. You got guys like Sam Coonrod coming up from the minors and striking out Javi Baez and Chris Bryant. So it's not like their cupboard will be bare. The Giants have something that most other teams covet, which is a solid bullpen. And I'm okay if they give up a small piece of that pen to improve the club in other areas, but I don't want them to just do it just to get a bunch of prospects for 3 years down the line.
Yeah.
Because they're not looking at 3 years down the line. This has absolutely gone from strip it down, rebuild to, oh my God, there's a chance. And one thing I keep going back to is Farhan was the general manager of the Dodgers. The Dodgers never stripped it down. They never put on a fire sale. They never got rid of everybody to replenish their farm system. Farhan did everything on the fly. So if he was able to do that and have such success in LA, 4 division championships, 2 World Series, what's to say he can't do the same here? Why are the preconceived notions out there that it must be done one way and one way only when a guy like Farhan has proven that he can do it a little differently and still get the job done? Because Alex Dickerson might be our Max Muncy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He has proven, Farhan has proven that incremental trades kind of just, it's like kind of flipping over cards, like, just waiting till you get that face card, right? Just like, oh, no, that's not working, discard. Okay, that's not working, discard. That's not working, discard. It's like, oh, here we go. We got one. Okay, let's work with this. It just, these incremental moves and the flushing of, reclamation projects and options for young minor leaguers and guys who are getting called up just to see if they stick. It's a shotgun approach. It's throw it up in the air, throw it against the wall. But you know what? The madness is working in a very short amount of time. And so I agree with you. I originally was in a position of they should not sacrifice potential prospects they could gain for 2 to 3 years from now to just for this tiny, 5, 6, 7% chance that the experts are saying they're going to make the playoffs, right? But I think Farhan has kind of alleviated some of my worries in that regard, in the sense of that if he was able to improve the team this much in such a short amount of time, if they did a trade for trade, position of strength from both teams, if they trade with a team that has a surplus of infielders and they have a surplus of bullpen, each team can benefit from this. Both teams can actually be strengthened by this, that they're not going to be weakened for years to come because they're not giving up prospects like you just mentioned. Yes, they may not gain the prospects that they would have if they traded Bumgarner or Smith, but at the same time, they go for it now. They don't make it. Fine. They get bounced in the first round. Fine. Whatever. They gave it a shot. It didn't work out. I don't think because of Farhan's long-term and now short-term track record is going to severely hamstring this team into the future. Right. I think that he can adapt to the lack of what he would have gotten in a trade by filling in those holes, doing what he's been doing this year.
Yeah, the fact that he was able to move on, I think that's what sticks out to me is his ability to move on from guys like Connor Joe, Michael Reed, Gerardo Parra, Yangervis Solarte. I mean, think about these names I'm putting out there. These were guys on the team to start the season. And the fact that he's willing to move on from them tells me that he is willing to constantly make changes and be okay with being wrong as long as he's still trying to be right the next time out. And I've never been one that, I never understood everybody screaming fire Farhan earlier this season because, it's a long-term plan. But I hope some people are starting to come around and see the things he's doing to improve this ball club. And we're sitting here saying all this stuff right now, but I think we'll be I will be devastated if they trade Bumgarner. I will. I don't want to push our hero out the door. I was okay with it, like you said, 2 weeks ago, because I felt that the Giants needed the long-term plan. Yeah. But since they haven't slowed down, screw the long-term plan. Give it a shot. And you even put it in here. This happened. It was so funny. Tim Brown of Yahoo tweeted out that the Astros and Giants are in talks on a Bumgarner trade, but they're working out possibles and stuff like that. And then an hour later, and you have it right here, Mark Feinsand, he is the I don't think he's a senior MLB reporter, but he's based in the Bay Area. And the name should sound familiar to you if you remember the Barry Bonds era. He tweeted that he's told by a source it's still doubtful that the Giants trade Bumgarner and are more likely to make an incremental addition or two rather than being sellers, which is pretty much what I just laid out. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is more likely. And I honestly think Feinsand is probably a little more plugged in than Tim Brown of Yahoo, not to take anything away from Tim Brown, but we heard it last week when Farhan went off on Passan. Yeah. You can't totally trust the national guys' takes. So I'd much rather hear something from Mark Feinsand than hearing something from Tim Brown or Jeff Passan or something like that. So I think that's where the Giants are. And let's get into the numbers a little bit. You have it right here. You said 538 has raised the Giants' chance of making the playoffs to what, 9%?
Yeah, but it was 6% last week, right? So it keeps going up.
It does. Over on Baseball Reference, their change in percentage in the last 30 days is they have gained 11.6% probability to make the playoffs in the last 30 days. Which means they now have an 11.6% shot.
Oh, so they have an 11.6. Okay, so Baseball Reference 11.6, 538 9, and Fangraphs have them at 8%. So basically, you have an 8 to almost 12% chance between those three sites. But I mean, again, most people are going to look at that and go, "Why are you not going to sell these guys, trade these guys for a freaking 1 in 10 shot? Like that's stupid. That's stupid. 10 times you're going to fail 9 of those times. Take the prospects when you can." But that's all hypothetical, right? And you know what your chances are now, and the players don't care about percentages. They don't, I have a 9% chance. No, F that. So here's another thing I wanted to bring up is that they need about 88 wins or so to get the second wild card. Sometimes it's less than that. Sometimes it's more than that. But 88 is a reasonable number to shoot for. Let's say if they got to 88 wins and they finished right behind the second wild card. Well, what are you going to say? They had a successful year, right? They got to 88 wins, for God's sakes. Who would have thought that? But let's look at 88 as a target. The Giants need to go 34-22 the rest of the way. I mean, obviously the last month has been a way better winning percentage than that. Now, we know that is not sustainable. We know this. They're not going to be playing 800 ball for the next 2 months. No one has ever done that in Major League history. So that's not going to happen. But 34-22, can that be achieved? That's 12 games over 500. They're 2 games over 500 after 106 games or whatever right now, right? So, okay, fine. That's probably a stretch. But again, the team is now constructed much differently than it was in the beginning of the year, which they absorbed most of their losses within. So, I mean, I'm going to say it's definitely possible. Do I think it's likely? No, I don't. I do think that this team, Fangraphs projects them at 79 wins at this point. I think that the Giants could finish 500 at 81 wins. 88 might be a little bit of a stretch, but it's definitely not outside the realm of possibility, and here's why. The Giants really can control their own destiny because of all the teams ahead of them or either right below them. They play a lot of them. So they have 56 games remaining, and 23 of those 56 are against some of the contenders. They got 7 against Philadelphia starting tonight, 3 versus Washington, 6 versus Arizona, 3 versus the Cubs, 4 versus the Cardinals. And this does not include the Pirates, the Rockies, or the Padres because, they're kind of a lot further behind. But that's almost half their games in which they play these guys that are kind of ahead of them in the mix of the wild card. So I think that's going to dictate a lot, Eric. And I know it's after the deadline that this is going to all happen. But if they have winning records against this core of teams, they have a really good shot. If they have a losing record against this core of 23 or 26 games, 23 games, then I think their chances are very, very low.
Yeah, I was glad you put this in there because I had not looked at that kind of a thing. And it's funny because I'm usually like the schedule whore who's always looking ahead and what are they doing? And because I'm always planning and looking ahead. And I didn't realize they had so many games against the teams right around them left. And it's really interesting to see that they do control their own destiny. I mean, if they take 5 of 7 from Philly, that's going to hurt Philly and help the Giants at the same time. The fact that they still have to play Arizona 6 times. Arizona and them are like neck and neck right now.
Yeah.
Granted, they're a game and a half ahead of Arizona right now. I still can't believe the Giants are in second place. But, that really is what's fascinating to me. And I hope that that's what management is looking at too, knowing that they get to play the teams in front of them. They don't have to hope that other teams take care of business. Giants can take care of their own business. I hadn't looked at it like that yet, and you're totally right. And this week is going to show a lot as far as the 3 games in Philly. Where the hell? And then 3 more games. Granted, Colorado, is a little lower on the list, but they're back in Colorado again at the end of the week, and I'm curious to see if they continue to hit like they did a couple weeks ago, or if things have changed. I doubt that they will have changed. I think they'll keep hitting. So you're right. They totally control their own destiny. And I don't think this is a position they expected to be in. And like you said, the players don't care about percentages. And one of the best managers in the history of baseball doesn't care about percentages. And that's one thing that's also getting lost in all this is the fact that Bochy can manage circles around other managers. He showed it. Sunday is my perfect example. He stacked the lineup with right-handed hitters against the lefty who was starting. But he went around the clubhouse to his left-handed guys like Dick and said, hey, you are going to get in this game. I'm going to need important at-bats from you. And it turned out to be true. He started throwing those guys in the 4th inning. I mean, there was back-to-back pinch hit base hits when they had changed pitchers from the new lefties that came into the game. And Bochy's got that kind of touch, and he knows how to turn it on. So I love that they have this opportunity to control their own destiny. And I think – I don't want to make any predictions, but I think it gives – like you said, it gives them the best chance to win this is by taking care of business themselves and not worrying about what other teams are doing.
For sure. I was going to play a clip by Mike Krukow on KMBR. I'm going to do that in the interest of time. But basically, in summary, it was a great quote. I should put it in here, but it's just so funny. He said he got, quote, hard nipples at the thought of the Giants improving. And he agrees. He thinks that they should add and not subtract right now. I know he's a homer, and we all know this, but he's like, this is why you play the game. This is why the players play. This is why managers manage. I mean, they don't do this for, well, I think they should trade because I think in 3 years we'll be better than if we didn't trade. And it's like, no, that's not what players play for. I know fans can think of like that, management can think like that, but that's not what the players think.
I mean, Pillar's under contract for another year and a half. You think he gives a crap what the 2022 team is going to look like?
He doesn't care at all. Exactly.
He doesn't care.
So, I think small additions and just see where the chips may fall. All right, so let's talk about who's hot and who's not. The who's hot list is still big again this week. We got Solano. No one's hitting like crazy 700 because it was a short week. We're talking about 6 games. But Solano, 5 for 13. Yaz was 6 for 16, including that 4 for 5 game. Dickerson, 5 for 14 with a home run. Pablo, only 5 for 17, around 300, but he had those 2 game-winning home runs. and he now leads the team in home runs with 13. So I think that's pretty worthy. Pomeranz, who you just referenced as far as being interested by Washington. Since the break and being put in the pen, he's only given up 1 earned run in 9 innings, and people are hitting like 133 off of him. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's working. I mean, it's just it's strange. Maybe he's a bullpen guy and not a starter. I don't know. And then Bum, of course, a 2.57 ERA since the break.
Well, the Pomeranz thing was a revelation last week. You were at that game Monday where he came in and he threw 2 scoreless innings, and he was pretty much lights out during those scoreless innings.
Yeah.
And he's what made Derek Holland expendable, because I mean, how many lefties do you need in the bullpen? They have Watson, they have Smith, they have Pomeranz. You know, they need to keep the balance. So it totally made sense as to why I'd given up on Pomeranz, so it's nice to see him have new life in the Who's Hot, because he had been in the Who's Not category lately, and there are still some Giants who are, like a couple weeks ago we had like nobody in there, and even though they're winning, there are a few Giants who are still a little cold. Brandon Belt, leadoff hitter, scratch your head, Brandon Belt has been 1 for 19 over the last week. Brandon Crawford, 3 for 19. Joe Panic, it says here 0 for 10. I guess that's not including the Monday game, because he hasn't done anything since that double we talked about earlier that Sam Dyson had to avoid.
Oh,
Panic,
yeah, because I put
10.
in the last 7, so it didn't include Monday. Yeah,
that's what I do, and then I didn't get I try to do the same. And then Pilar, he's been 3 for 23 over the last 7 days, and there's a little hesitation. Will Smith has not been as lights out since the All-Star break. I don't know if that has to do with Joey Gallo, but he's given up 6 earned runs in 10 innings pitched. Yeah, right. And then Sean Anderson's had a rough go of it. This is his first little rough patch as a starter. He has had a 7.45 ERA since the All-Star break. And I'm less worried about Sean Anderson because I thought he still looked pretty good the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm less worried about Smith. It's just not fair, some of the pitches Smith throws, so he's not going to lose that. But I am a little concerned with the whole Belt Crawford panic. I don't like this Belt leading off stuff. I don't think Solano took the leadoff spot on Sunday, and it changed things, absolutely changed things. Mm-hmm. But Belt is going through this cold stretch as the Giants are hot, which is really a testament to the team because he has carried them before. But I'm a little concerned about the Belt Crawford. But you know, what can you do?
Yeah,
they're not hot.
Those 3. Ugh.
Yeah, that's brutal.
That's
I'm not
a pitcher's
gonna lie.
average.
Yeah, the other day there was a stretch where they kept getting guys on, and then Crawford would come up. I think it was the Saturday game. No, the Friday game where they managed to squeak it out. In the Friday game, it was a lefty starter, so only Crawford and Belt were lefties in the lineup, and they were like automatic outs all night long. The Giants would get a couple base runners on, then Crawford would come up and wave at a bunch of pitches, that are cutting out of the zone. And Belt would come up and he'd take those borderline pitches like he does. And like, I really had that sense and that feeling watching that specific game. I'm like, oh man, they're holes in the lineup. The Giants would get guys on and I'd be like, oh great, now Belt's coming up. This is over. And I hate feeling that way, but that's where we are with these guys right now.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, go ahead and take care of transactions.
Yeah, I mentioned Derek Holland earlier. He was designated for assignment a week ago, and the Giants actually found a trade partner, which probably shocked you. It shocked me. Derek Holland was traded to the Chicago Cubs for cash considerations after the Cubs series, which I also found interesting that they waited to do it afterwards. And Ty Block and Nick Vincent have also been designated for assignment. Logan Webb came back from suspension in the minor leagues. I didn't write this down, but they wanted to put him back on the 40-man roster, so they had to find some room. And, coming into trading season and all this stuff right now, the Giants wanted to be a little more flexible, and that's why Ty Block, who we've seen go up and down, is no longer on the 40-man. And Nick Vincent, he's been hurt for 60 days. The moment he came off the 60-day, they designated him for assignment. I felt so bad for him.
I know, because he was in a rehab assignment, and then they just went, see ya.
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, so the transactions, we've had weeks where the list is like 10 things long, and next week might be like that if stuff happens over the next 22 hours. But, this week, Derek Holland getting traded to the Cubs for cash really did surprise me. He was a personality. He did have a couple little hiccups. Last year with the MLB, he was on MLB Network, and he did not make the right kind of comments. And then this year with his speaking, quote unquote, out of turn in the clubhouse. And I think the fact that he just was not as effective as he used to be, the writing was on the wall. And the Giants were lucky to be able to unload some of his contract because he was their, quote, big free agent signing this season. So it was good to see that the Giants actually got a return for that. And being a guy who watches all Cubs games, I still get to watch the guy.
Yeah, that's right. He's been in 2 games with the Cubs, and he's got an inning and a third, and no runs, no hits, no walks, and a strikeout. So
yeah, he hasn't been. Yeah, the Cubs fans don't really seem to care for him, but you know what?
I was gonna say. Well, he does that Harry Carey impression, so now he's actually with the team that is notable for Harry Carey. So we'll see if he ends up doing that impression for any of the reporters there.
No, I'm sure he will. He has a dog. He had a dog named Wrigley that recently passed away.
Oh, that's
right. It was almost like karma. It was almost destined to be that he would be there.
Yep.
So those were the transactions. There's still some injuries that we have to talk about. I see here, I just read something, too, from Hank Schulman, who talked to Longo. The earliest he can come back is probably mid-August, maybe later. He did some training exercises today, but he still can't put cleats on.
Yeah.
And that's a problem if you can't put cleats on. So
I can play, I just can't put the shoes on.
Right. I'm going to slide around the infield because you've been on infields in tennis shoes, and it just doesn't work. And then Johnny Cueto threw 25 pitches against live hitting on Saturday, and he is supposed to begin his rehab assignment in early August down in Arizona, and there's a real possibility that Johnny Cueto will be on this pitching staff at the end of August.
I know. It's exciting, and that's what's amazing about this is that you mentioned the Giants might need another starting pitcher. Well, if they could hang in the race for the month of August and they get into September and they add Johnny Cueto, that I can't see that as being a negative at this point.
A fresh Johnny Cueto. It's like making a trade in late August when all the other teams aren't allowed to do that anymore because they changed the rules. It's a nice little ace up the sleeve, no pun intended, for the Giants.
That's great. All right, so you had a little information on the minor league report as well, huh?
Yeah, yesterday, left-handed pitcher Seth Corey, who is turning into be one of the Giants' hot prospects, he just had a dominating afternoon against Lexington. He threw 5 2/3 innings, and the reason he was pulled is because he hit his pitch count. They're not going to let these guys go 9 innings. He threw 5 2/3 innings. He struck out 10 and didn't allow a single hit and only walked 1. And, he's somebody who had command problems but has been able to harness those. And granted, the league he's pitching in is a pitcher's league, but those are some stunning numbers. And Seth Corey, I've been hearing his name and seeing his name a lot lately, along with Luciano's name, who's been popping up a lot lately. So it was good to see. Like, my whole timeline yesterday afternoon was full of Seth Corey stuff. Yeah. And so, not that he's a name that we may see later this year. Logan Webb is a name that we may see later this year that I mentioned, the guy who came back.
40 men, yeah.
Yep. They didn't do that without thoughts of the future. He was suspended for PED. I don't remember if he took responsibility for it, but
no,
whatever.
He is still sticking to his story that he does not know how that performance-enhancing drug with like 49 letters got into his system. So, any athlete says that, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I really don't. I think there's 1 in 100 where, some brother or cousin or friend or whomever, like Bonds' case, right, who said, hey, take this. This is creatine or something. This is vitamin C. This is whatever. This will help you. And the guy takes it and it has something else. But these guys have to be so diligent about what they put in their bodies that, it's like, no, you need to take full responsibility for what you put in your body. You can't accidentally put a performance-enhancing drug in your body. You can't. I don't believe it. But
it's almost impossible. But so back to, on Seth Corey, he had a great, I had his page open before, but I restarted my computer. I had his game logs open and I was going to look at it. So That's the minor league report. This week in Giants history is going to return this week. I am no longer injured. Life has calmed down. And I want an excuse to write about Hunter Pence. So this week in Giants history, on July 31st, 2012, the San Francisco Giants traded Nate Shearholz, Tommy Joseph, and Seth Rosen to the Phillies for one Hunter Pence. And I think that is a significant moment in Giants history. I don't think that they win the World Series in 2012 without him.
Nope.
I'm not sure they win in 14 without him either. And it was a very significant moment. We all love Hunter Pence still. There's actually talks of him being on the move. Apparently the Cubs might be looking at him, which would be really weird. So any chance to talk and write and think about Hunter Pence, I'm going to take it. So, 7 years ago.
I know. It seems like yesterday he was arriving at AT&T Park with his short hair and no beard, right?
Right, and
everyone
that
was so
plaid
excited
shirt
about it.
and jeans. I'll never forget him walking in from the tunnel in left field, walking down the side of, down by the bullpens on the left field line, and fans were still there. And they were cheering him and stuff like that. I'll never forget that. And Hunter is near and dear to all of our hearts. He's always been good with his time. He's always been just a good guy in general, and we love to see him succeed. So any chance to write about Hunter, I'm going to take it. And we had a request recently to bring back Guess That Giant. So I'm going to do my due diligence, and after this trade deadline stuff has passed and we have a new week ahead of us next week, we're going to bring back Guess That Giant next week, and we'll see if I can stump Chad once again.
I almost brought it back today just to stump you so we could even it out, but that's okay.
That would have been fun. All right.
All right, well, coming up, obviously, 3 against Philadelphia in the bandbox, that is Citizens Park, and then 3 at Coors Field, where pretty much they started this whole big streak. So it's going to be interesting. The Giants do well on the road. They hit well on the road. And again, another 6 games. They go 4-2. They're just chipping away. Chipping away. I mean, that's 667 ball right there, right? 4-2.
Right. And
if they go
need to go 607.
607, that's right. 607 the rest of the way. So if they win 2 out of 3, I mean, obviously I think they're easily getting the wild card because that's like 90 or 91 wins. But yeah, 607. Okay, let's do it. So that's like 2 out of 3, lose 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3, lose 2 out of 3. Something like that. So they don't need to win 7 series in a row all the time. But hey, we're going to take as much as they can go. And the Phillies are cold right now, and they're going to be playing in Philly, and it'll be interesting because this is Bryce Harper, and we'll see how Bryce Harper does. And they were talking about like Mike Yastrzemski. He doesn't have as many at bats as Harper, but he has better stats per at bat than Harper. And so you can't always assume that that's how he would perform over a full season. But as of right now, I mean, the Giants would not be that much better if they had signed Harper. And certainly for $300 million, that at this point would not have been worth it in my regard.
No, I agree now. I mean, in hindsight, obviously. Yeah. I'm curious to see Harper, too, over the next few days. That is a story that should have been a major storyline heading into this week. But it's not, because the Giants are just a completely different team than we expected them to be. Yeah. And we would be talking about, hey, let's see the guy that we didn't get. And, on the flip side, that's not how it happened. Yeah, you're right. The Phillies are scuffling a little bit. They just lost 2 out of 3 to Atlanta at home. And then they have the Giants coming in for 3. They're losing to good teams and beating bad teams is what it looks like right now as I look through their schedule. Yeah.
And then, of course, after this, well, if we record next Monday, they'll be coming home to face the Nationals. So really important series coming up. I mean, you can't say enough about the rest of the season, even against ho-hum teams. I know later they have Atlanta. They got the A's, who are really good this year. I mean, they got some tough schedule coming up. In fact, I think the remaining schedule is mostly against teams over 500. This is no small feat. This is no small task that the Giants are ordered with, but that's a sign of a playoff team. If they can go through this gauntlet and have a winning record, then they deserve to be in the playoffs. If they go through this stretch of the schedule and play under 500, so be it. They're not worthy. So
why not us?
Why not us, right? The Giants have been outperforming their expectations over the last month, and so they need to continue that to have a shot at the playoffs. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for episode 174 of the TortureCast. You can follow us collectively on Twitter at TortureCast, like us on Facebook. Check out our blog at torturecast.com, where we post all of our articles and our podcast. You're listening to this, so you know where you can find our podcast, which is great. You can follow us individually. Eric at 2OutHits, that's with the number 2. Myself at ChadK21. So we got a lot of exciting Giants baseball coming up here in the next few weeks. We have a very exciting, pressure-laden trade deadline within 24 hours tomorrow. It's going to be really interesting. You'll see our Twitter and our Facebook blow up, even if the Giants don't do anything, because there's been a lot of other moves with Stroham going and other pitchers going. That's actually altered the landscape and probably made it less likely for any kind of Bumgarner trade. So we don't expect those things to happen, but it would be mildly surprising to see the Giants add. So stay tuned to see the reactions to anything that may happen or not happen with the Giants. You got anything else, Eric?
No, just to remind everybody to take every rumor with a grain of salt, because nothing is true until it's finalized. I tweeted those 2 examples earlier today from our account, with the one saying, oh, the Giants are in talks, and then the other one saying, oh, the Giants aren't in talks. So, there's a lot of misinformation and rumor out there right now. Deal with facts.
Facts, baby. That's what this whole world needs to deal with. Anyway, all right, for Eric, this is Chad signing off for episode 174, and we will see you next Monday for episode 175. Until then, a-boom.
Don't sell!
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.